Welcome back. If you clicked on this video, it is because you want to improve at chess. And you are in luck because there is only one big problem that we have to fix before you can skyrocket your elo. The one big issue is that you have been listening to the wrong chess teachers. All the other chess teachers will just give you some random intel that sounds smart, but is actually quite vague, then proceed to play 15 top engine moves while pretending to think and tell you that you can just do the same thing, just play better. And that's not how chess works. I will show you all of the things that other teachers are gatekeeping from you. And if you don't trust me, in the previous video, I already showed you that all other teachers tell you to not memorize openings, and it's not that deep and important to memorize openings, but watch me win a game in 5 moves because my opponent already trapped his knight. Yes. So my opponent played a weird opening. I didn't really know what to do. I had never seen the position before, and my opponent was quite a bit better, but he let me out. And there was a lot to learn about the opening, about how to actually be winning if you have a good opening, and how you should go about it. And all other chess teachers tell you that it's not that deep and not that important. But I mean, free knight, GG. Didn't really have to think, just memorize some opening and won in 5 moves. GG to my opponent. He can still try to fight, but I already have take, check, and pick up another pawn. Unless you play this, and then fair enough. Um, so what do I do? I can do this. If you take, I can take. Um, I can take, and attack the pawn. Yeah, your structure is horrible. So one thing I will also teach you after just memorize a bit of your opening is that pawn structure. And my opponent could have taken a free pawn, but then he was left with two isolated um, doubled pawns. So I will probably win both and just push a past pawn and win like that. Now I can take, he'll take back, and then his structure is still quite weak. But I think I can just do this, and I'm attacking his pawn, and you cannot push this pawn because I control that as well. If you take, that should be bad. So you may or may not have noticed how good my opening went. By the way, thanks a lot for 100 subscribers. It means the world to me. Thank you very, very much. If you're still not convinced about subscribing, I will show you exactly what I vouch for. So after e4 and c5, I play a3, the Mangarini Sicilian, and I really vouch for and understanding and memorizing your openings, which is the best because you know the moves just by heart. You can blitz them out, make your opponents uncomfortable, but you also know what to do behind the opening. Because I see a lot of people just copying openings from whatever YouTuber they're subscribed to, and then they hit a middle game and they just panic. Not if you're a Lancry Chess subscriber. I'm making this course. If you're confused, this is my opening course with all of the moves you should memorize, all of the lines you should memorize, and also very, very deep sample lines. Not for you to memorize, but for you to understand the middle games, the end games, and the tactics that might emerge in your position. And I also have a lot of commentary written down so that if you watch the videos from the course, you will understand most of it, and the sentences I write out in the course will just remind you what you're doing, why you're doing it, so that you fully understand the opening. So after knight to c6, we play b5, and our opponent goes for e6. After e6, trying to go for take and have incredible development, We play b5, and after knight to d4, the knight is trapped. My commentary here is whoops, the written down commentary inside of my course. So if knight would go to e5, we just develop the bishop with another tempo. If he moves again, we develop our knight. If he crashes in the center, we have take, take, check. We do trade, make our bishop incredibly strong, and I have a lot of sample lines here. Blunting this bishop, our bishop will go like this anyway. He does the same thing to our bishop. We just develop to the weak squares, and after he castles, we will have a incredible bishop, and this is where the sample line stops. The commentary here is castle and attack on the queen side, bring the king to safety, then launch a pawn storm and pieces down the flank to create pressure against black's queen side. So I said castle and attack on the queen side, which means that a lot of the lines we will castle queen side, or we might just crash through and then castle king side. Probably both are fine, especially because all of these pieces stop his pawns from marching to our king side. So if you castle king side, probably you will be fine too. So that's one random sample line. If that was not enough to convince you to subscribe, I will show you the most popular line in this opening. It is obviously just taking this free pawn. What did that do? Well, our bishop is open, our knight was already open, but especially our rook is now open, and we have c3, knight goes d4, so now we have an incredible center with a open bishop. This knight defends our weak pawn, a open rook. Our queen is also very open. And we have incredibly easy development. The most popular line in this position is d5, and after take and queen take, you have to memorize this move a3. If you just understand your openings, you would know that this is the plan and have memorized this just by understanding your openings. That's why both work together hand in hand. And after knight to f6, for example, we will always jump our knight in most lines. He will have to go back to defend, and we have d5 attacking this knight again. If knight takes, we can take with the queen, so that after he takes with the queen, we have this royal fork. King moves, take the queen, and if you do the count, it is 3 pieces against 4 pieces, but we are down 2 pawns. But we're up a piece, so, and we still have very good development. After, for example, knight to e5, just going away, we have bishop here, and now you see the issue. So if he moves this knight, we have check. King has to move, bishop check mate. Very disgusting. This knight takes away this square, this bishop gives a check, this pawn takes away everything, and this bishop takes away everything and defends the knight. So, I mean, the one other line is probably to just sack your queen, but I didn't even make a line for that. So the only other line is knight to d7. We will just develop, he will have to defend, and after we now jump into the newly created weaknesses, he's probably screwed. So now after take and take, he has a very bad pawn structure. We get check, and the line stops here. I obviously will not bore you with the entirety of every game and every possible thing, but I mean, if he blocks, you can take. You're again creating this threat, so you are very, very fine here. Knight to f6 is not the most popular line. Most people play e5 here, but again, we are very, very winning. After knight to b5, if he plays bishop to d6, trying to just trade this off and be fine, um, and defending this fork with the bishop, we have bishop to c4, which is a disgusting move. There are 3 sample lines here. The most beautiful and easy one is queen takes. We have knight takes, royal fork, and that's it. That's the easiest and most beautiful line. For the other lines, you will have to buy the course when it's out. The most popular line, though, is knight to d5. We will again attack this knight. If the knight moves here, attack the knight again. Then give this fork, and we are winning after this long sample line, which I will not show you in great detail. Point being that we trade everything off, but this is basically a fork. You do have to know that very sharp line. To be fair, by heart, but we have a lot of forcing moves, so it's not that incredibly difficult. If the knight goes back here, we will also push the pawn, which is very easy to memorize. It's defended twice, attacked twice, and we are making the threat of knight to c7. Only way to stop knight to c7 is knight to a6. We will sack the rook, give this check, king to d7, give the queen check, king is forced to take the pawn, and now one difficult line to memorize, knight to e8 check. Most lines will conclude with king to e7. I got this position a lot. Bishop check, queen check, and royal fork. Now you're up a queen and you won a game with 19 moves of theory. But it's all very natural and very logical. With a bit of studying, this is very, very easy. If, for example, the knight goes to e6, I had this in a live game a month ago. I even think like 2 or 3 weeks ago. I found without studying, bishop c4 check, king goes to f5, queen to c2 check. If you don't trust in your tactical vision to find this on your own, study this. If you think I would find that, well, obviously you don't have to study what you can find for yourself. He basically has to block. Now, g4 check I found too, because if king to g6, we have queen takes, checkmate. So the king has to go to e5, and here I messed up in the game. You can have a look and watch for the video. I played knight to f3, and because all of the squares are taken away, he's forced to take, and I thought that queen to e2 would be checkmate, but the pawn defends. If I have found f4 check, force him to take en passant, only legal move, and then knight takes, that would be a 20 move, 100% accuracy game. Checkmate with a king completely stuck in the center. I had this position before in the game. I just didn't know this, didn't find it, and yeah, that's sad. I know from this position that king to e7 is the only line that does not lead to a checkmate. All other legal moves are checkmate. If you know that and trust in your tactical vision, you can just know, oh, I have a checkmate. Anywhere that he moves that is not e7, I have a checkmate, and I will use my time to find it. That's also fine if you trust in your tactical vision. So I hope you learned a lot, and I am worth your subscription, in your opinion. And other than that, let's go back. I can now take, you can go here. Um, I can also just take, and then you still have this horrific structure. I can also just attack the pawn, but then you can push. Um, so the thing is, right, of course, completely winning. I just have to convert this. And the way I convert this is I have to make very active moves, and I cannot let my pieces slack and be passive. So I think I will take this just to give you this horrific structure. And I could take this pawn, but maybe it is a bit too risky. I'm not sure. I can take this with an attack on the bishop. If you move the bishop, I can just kick it, probably. Um, so I can take a free pawn, but for some reason, I'm quite inclined to not actually do it. And it's just because I want my pieces to be active and very active. But I think that I can pin your bishop to your king and it's hanging, so you have to defend it. And after you defend it, I can take this, attack the bishop. You practically cannot defend it. Yeah, but that makes your bishop still pinned. So now I can take this. Your bishop is pinned, so I will be able to just take the bishop and trade queens and trade pieces, which is terrific. Um, so yeah, I think you should have broken the pin so that if I take, you can keep your bishop on the board. I will be able to trade queens, but okay, so now he's just attacking a hanging piece. If I take, you will take, and my only legal move is to block with the queen, which is depressing. So let's just block that off. I could also take with the queen, by the way, forcing you to take, and after take, you take a piece with a check. Why would I give you a piece with a check? So let's just develop a piece because I want to develop my pieces. That's practically the only way I lose this, by not developing my pieces. So now I can take this with the knight, but I don't really have a threat. So I will take with the queen, forcing a queen trade. And it's with a check, by the way, which is very important. If it wasn't with a check, he could pin my queen to my king, but it's with a check, so you cannot do that. Now you pinned my knight to my king, which you could have taken already, so that doesn't really make a lot of sense. So now you just give me the option to defend the piece that was already hanging. So I can do this, and if you take, I can defend and pin this. So he is just blundering more and more tactics. Yeah, that was already hanging. You can take it with a check, but the beautiful thing is that I can go back, block this check, and open up this pin. So I'm just tactically obliterating my opponent. Yeah, so that's a free rook if I want it, but the rook is not going anywhere. Um, so I think I even just develop a bishop. I'm not joking. I think developing the bishop is more valuable than taking a free rook with a check. The thing is that this is still hanging, and the only way that it's not hanging is if you move the king first. Yeah, so I can just castle. I can also take the knight, but if you take with the king, then I have to take the rook. I would prefer it if he moved his king and then I take, because he had to waste the tempo, which would be quite funny. It's just being annoying. See, now he moved the king, now I will take. And after takes, I can just take this knight so that the more material, wow, the more material that is off of the board, the better. And again, the only way I lose is by being passive. So let's just attack the bishop. He could have taken the pawn with an attack, but that would allow me to infiltrate. So I wouldn't even mind. I'm up 7 points of material. So probably the best thing to do is actually to just sack the bishop. I sack the rook. I cannot lie. I think I mean, I don't know. It's just, do I just sag the rook and then start a 2-on-1 attack? What if I do this? I mean, that doesn't really do much. I can get my knights in. Yeah, and I'm preparing to attack the bishop, which will have to leave. Then I have a check. You have to go here. And I just develop my other rook. Yeah, you can do that, but I have check. You have to move. I have check. You have to move. Um, do I even want to give that check? Maybe I just do this. Um, oh, I just noticed the only way I lose this is by blundering back rank. I mean, not like that, obviously, but like, if I take without a check, but I take with a check, so you move and then I don't know, but um, so check, you move. I could also move in to try and backrank you. Like this, you have to move. I can take with a backrank, checkmate, threat. You can always block. I don't know. Maybe I just start pushing my passed pawn. Yeah, probably. And I can just push this, and my knight is defending some squares quite nicely. If you attack my knight, I think I just move this pawn so that I don't have back rank issues. And he has a dark squared bishop, so probably I want my whole setup to be on light square so that the bishop is actually useless. So see, all other teachers will just tell you to not memorize openings and just understand them, and then you would see that the knight was hanging and then conversion is easy. I will guide you through everything. Um like I attack this, you have to go here, there's no tactics, so let's just defend the knight. Because this also creates a loft, and now more things are on light square, so I don't have to have the headache of your dark squared bishop doing anything ever. To be fair, I now gave you some. Oh my days! Can I force you to move? If I attack you, and even wow, good job. Take, check, move, and there's nothing. And if you're not careful, you just get forked. Okay, GG. I don't know what my opponent is doing. Um, I have no clue. I will not even use my actual analysis, so I'll see you in an analysis. So Lichess is way too kind as always and says I have 98% accuracy and my opponent has 85% accuracy with a blunder, two mistakes, and an inaccuracy. That's insane. So I always play e4, and against the Sicilian, I go for the Mangarini Sicilian. Um, to be fair, shout out to my course. You really should wait until it's out, buy it, and it will be amazing. After this, I know there are lines where you can take, bishop take, and then fight for the center, but I like the lines with b5 more, and I think that's what I recommend in my course. He blundered the knight in one move. The best move is just to go back, go here or go here, but I will have done an opening analysis, so let's go rather quickly. He just blunders the knight for absolutely no reason. His one way to fight back is this, but I can still take, go here, queen blocks, take another pawn, and I have to block this attack. And now I have an active queen, active knight. It's not that difficult to activate my bishop, but I'm quite far from castling, and the queen is out in the way of my bishop. So castling will be a bit more difficult, but I'm up a piece for two pawns, especially in the middle game. That is fantastic. So I don't know what this does except just weaken your king. I take a free piece, you do whatever that is, and I take. If you take back, you have this horrific pawns, which is obviously fantastic. So he does find the best move and just develop, sacrificing a pawn for activity. And if you know me, one of the biggest things I always tell you is that the only way to win a game of chess is by checkmate, and the only way to checkmate is with a checkmating attack or by promoting a passed pawn. So my opponent has to find one of those two, either checkmate my king or make a passed pawn and make it a threat. Making a passed pawn is very, very difficult here. It's a 2-on-2. You're not making a passed pawn here. If I take and take, for example, You have a 3 on 2 here and then a 2 on 1 in the center, but my f pawn still slightly helps this out. So there is no hope for you of making a pass pawn quickly. So you should go for checkmate. The only way you go for checkmate is activity. So just sag the pawn for activity. You're not going to win this by taking here, making this a 2 on 1, but it's very symmetrical, so you will never break through. This is a 2 on 2, and this is a 3 on 3. So making a passed pawn is basically impossible here. Is my camera doing weird? Okay, cool. As long as my noise is fine. So, yeah, this is impossible to make a passed pawn. So you have to go for activity. Developing the knight is a very good move. I do the same thing, just pressuring everything. And here he just gives me this. So now we do go into a structure where this is a 2 on 1, but your pawn structure is so horrible, I don't even care. This is a 2 on 2, which is just symmetrical, and I have a 3 on 2 on the king side. So actually, even if I didn't even have an extra piece, I would favor my side because of the pawn structure and my pawn majority. So trading some pieces, starting an attack, pressuring these pawns will all lead to a win. And on top of that, I'm just up a piece. So, and I think this is practically speaking a very good move. If he does this, I can take this with an attack. You have to move. I can trade queens, develop some pieces, and after castles, you do have very active bishops ish, a very active rook. This rook can go here, and you do get some activity, but queens are off of the board. I'm up a pawn and a piece, so I don't even care. So the engine says that this is the best move. I can now take and use this spin to my advantage. Your best move is to castle, and after takes, your rook can now go here with a pin, and that's actually quite difficult. Fair enough. So I have to move this. You can take this with a check. I have to block. And then you can go for activity, I castle, and here at least you have a pawn storm. And a pawn storm leads to a checkmating attack. That's exactly what I'm talking about. So other chess teachers would just say if you're down a piece, play actively. That's vague. And yes, they will sound smart and you will think, oh, thank you, but they only sell you hope and not actually what to do in a game. I will tell you what they are gatekeeping, and they are gatekeeping that in this situation, you're down a piece and a pawn, at least my opponent. So my opponent should just opposite side castle, launch a pawn storm, try to weaken my king, and use whatever he has left to checkmate my king. Even sacrificing a rook here is not stupid because you will never in your life win this game by playing slow and positional. You have to go for the throat. And that's exactly what the engine is suggesting. Activate pieces, push the pawn so that you can activate a piece rather more actively, or just launch a pawn storm, which is very, very instructive. I really want to hammer that point down. That he queenside castles, I will obviously kingside castle, and your only hope is just to play active and pawn storm. Don't even care about anything else. You will not create a passed pawn. You will not be able to push it. Go for a checkmate. So after this, take and take. I pin this and take. That's a mistake because you're just hoping that I'm blundering this, which is valid. But I mean, in a position where you are just down a piece, I do advise you to either go for the king or play hope chess because you will never win this at a slow pace. You can just play a trick, pray that it works, and if it doesn't work, well, you were losing anyway, so you didn't lose anything. So I develop a piece while defending this, so obviously that was a bad move. You cannot queenside castle anymore. You let me develop a piece, which is very useful because I control the center, and you still have the same issue. So after this, I take with the queen. I could lose my queen if rook to e8 was possible, pinning my queen to my king, but that's not possible because of the check, but you have to see that. And after queen takes, knight takes, you pin a piece that was already hanging. So that doesn't really make sense. Now I can just defend the piece and line some tricks up, like knight to c7 check, discovery check, and your rook is hanging. And if you block the check with the rook, it's still hanging because my knight controls this as well. You push the pawn, but that doesn't really make sense. Obviously, if I take with my bishop, you take with my knight, I take with the knight, then you take this. Fair enough, you did win a piece for a pawn, but you're already down 7 points of material, so I would even advise to not trade. Sack this, develop the bishop, develop this rook somehow, and move the king out of the way. Just launch an attack, and that's it. And here he does play the best move, but after takes with a check, I can block your attack while having the spin. And now I even won the exchange because I will win your rook for a bishop. And the piece was hanging already. You could say he took a piece and then he will take another piece, but don't forget this piece was already hanging. He could have just taken it for free. He didn't, and now I will even get the exchange for it. So that's fantastic. Here I either activate pieces or kingside castle, just making sure that my king is safe. The only way I lose again is just by keeping my king in the center, making sure that my king is not safe, and making sure that my pieces are not active. So activating pieces, castling my king, or taking the rook are the only logical things. I activate a piece, you defend this. Again, I can take, but I would much rather you move the king first and only then I will take. So I just castle my king. Now my king is completely safe. His only hope is starting a pawn storm so that my king is unsafe and use whatever he has left to try and checkmate me. That is his only counterplay because this is a 2-on-2. I already have a passed pawn and I have a 3-on-2 here. So I can push my passed pawn, I can start a majority attack, and this is completely symmetrical. You will never win this on pawn structure at all. You can never create a passed pawn in this. So you have to go for checkmate. That's your only counterplay in the position, which is very, very valuable to know. If you're ever losing or winning, look for the counterplay of your opponent. I saw that his only counterplay is a checkmating attack because I'm up a lot of pawns and a lot of pieces. So his only counterplay is starting a pawn storm. So I let him waste a tempo because that's always useful, then take and take. And now I can just take a piece. The chances of you checkmating me while trading pieces is basically zero. I activate a piece even at the cost of a pawn. To be fair, maybe I shouldn't have done this because if he were to take, I do infiltrate with my rook, which is fantastic. But to be fair, I do create a 2-on-1 for him. And that's potentially his only way to win this now because even checkmate will not work. I'm up a rook and 2 pawns. So maybe I shouldn't have given him this pawn because now he has a 2-on-1. He didn't even take it, so I activate another piece. You take, I give a check, you go up. And now I start winning because I have a passed pawn. That's a win condition. So I indicate to my opponent I will start investing in my win condition. After you move the rook, I defend my knight and you take a pawn. To be fair, I did give him some connected passed pawns, which is quite bad. I could have given him the check, which he will have to run. Then I can take with an attack on the bishop. And he only has one passed pawn now, which is very valuable. And if you even move uh, the rook, the bishop like this, maybe I have some potential forks if you move wrong. Um, but I attacked this and I thought that, yeah, now I can just take the bishop. He blundered his bishop. He has to move while guarding this. I can take this with a check. and now force your bishop again to move. Any check I can just run, so that doesn't matter. And after you move again, I can take this pawn, but that's probably not that valuable. I can give a check, win this pawn. Um, and here again, his only counterplay is the b pawn. So I will argue that trading that off is very, very valuable. Let's say he tries to invest in the pawn. Um, I would even just think about doing this and winning the pawn first because that's his only counterplay. I don't care. He pushes, I will attack it, he defends it. Now I can probably just push, and if you take, I will take and have a free trade. And now all of your counterplay is gone, and your bishop's hanging, so you have to do this. Now your passed pawn is gone. I just have a 3-on-1 while up a rook. To be fair, probably just give a check you have to run and then take and take is the easiest thing and just start running these pawns. He has to come closer, but I can always just push 3 pawns. If you do this, I can already promote, so you have to stop me. I can give a check, give a check, give a check. If you take one of these, you cannot stop this pawn, so you have to go. Um, and now I just defend this to prepare something here. You have to make a move, which you really don't want to do. And after you make a move, I can just crash through. If you take my knight, you cannot stop the f pawn. If you take, I can just take. You cannot stop these pawns. You cannot take this, and you can't even stop them. So your only hope is to try and do this, but you can't even stop this pawn already. So really sacrificing the rook for the bishop is probably the easiest, and just know to push your pawns, make moves with your knight to defend the pawn, and always think about what can you not defend and how can the king move. That's probably how I would win that position against a engine. Obviously my opponent didn't have to just lose the bishop there, but he was pre-moving, I guess, for some reason. So yeah, let's say you just do this, I just take, and now the engine doesn't want me to win this pawn, but I don't care. I would really much prefer stopping his counterplay first, with something like check, maybe even this oh, not that check. I didn't say that. Yeah, probably taking this pawn to save my rook because I have to save my rook anyway. Might as well take a pawn with it, and then stopping his counterplay, only then pushing. Because especially if you go to the 1500s, people start to have very, very good counterplay, which is disgusting and very, very annoying. But my opponent just blunders his bishop for no reason, and now blunders a fork. How you win this is just take this, take and take, so that he doesn't have any counterplay. Check, move, take. He has to make some random moves. Check, move. Probably I would just give a check and is this mate? No, no, no. Um, I would give a check. You would probably have to go here because otherwise you can't even stop this pawn. And after some check, take, check here, I should have some form of a mate, but it's quite difficult to see. Check, move the king closer, you have to go here, and now I basically ladder mate you, which is disgusting. If I would not find the mate, right? If you are a lower rated player and you don't think you would find the mate, I would try to bully the king to this side of the board, put a rook on the e file, and push your pawn, basically. So how I would do it is, first of all, make sure he cannot enter any further. He has to move the king, probably take his only form of counterplay, give a check, he has to move, give a check, he has to move. And now there is a checkmate in two. Here you move, and I take with the pawn as mate. If you don't see that, because I'm not even comfortable that I would see that, I would just make it so that he can shuffle a bit. Like here, take, he has to move. Make sure your rooks are defended. And after he pushes the pawn, you take and he takes. The rooks defend each other. Just push the pawn, push the pawn, push the pawn, push the pawn. And now you have a queen and two rooks. You can just probably ladder mate him like this. And now you have a simple ladder mate. So stick to the patterns you know, make puzzles to know more patterns, and building this fort so that the king cannot pass through to your passed pawn is very, very valuable, especially at a lower level. You can even just accidentally blunder a rook. Um, I mean, the king can't even get to your rook now because you defend all of these, and your pawn defends this, and your rook defends this. Your king defends these, and the pawn defends this. So the only thing the king can do is just shuffle a bit here. But your rook is even safe and cuts the king off, so you can just push the pawn, go for a checkmate. Probably the only thing the king can do is just shuffle a bit around. Make sure you don't stalemate him, and then you have some check and just give it check. And I don't even know how to like most effectively mate him here, but see, if you just give a bit of logical checks and always try to get the corner, the king in a closer and closer corner. Now he's stuck here. You can make sure he's now stuck here. He has to move, and now again a ladder mate occurs. And that's how you find checkmates, even if you're a bit chaotic and a bit of an intermediate or beginner. So that's how I would convert the position. So in this video, you learned how I go about the opening, that you should memorize and understand the opening. That's very, very difficult, but I'm making a course to help you out a ton, but I'm already working months on it. So it's very difficult, but I will publish it as fast as possible. You learned how to convert a position up a piece, and you know how to convert a completely winning and very easy endgame, very easy and cleanly. I hope you learned a lot and I earned your subscription. And other than that, I will see you in the next one.